Hello there, my name is Horse and I created BBS mod. And in this video I'd like to show you majority of the features available in BBS mod so that you would have one video to watch, and with chapters you could see like everything you needed in a very, I guess, clearly structured manner. Before we start, I'd like to provide you with some disclaimers. First of all, it will take time to master animating BBS mod, so don't get discouraged. Keep practicing by making fun stuff or experiments and stuff like that. Second, please pay close attention to avoid wasting your time. In this tutorial, I'll be pressing different buttons and sometimes I might forget stuff. However, first of all, whenever I click and stuff like that, you would see that there will be the icons near the mouse. And whenever I'm gonna press certain buttons, you would see here also indicators. And finally, you would see through the duration of the video, there will be chapters available. Make sure also to check the description for additional annotations, like notes and stuff like that, and for the links for the chapters themselves. So to start using BBS mod, we need to install it first, right? So BBS mod works on 1.20.4 and 1.20.1. There are forks that work on other versions, but I'll stick to the official releases. It works on Fabric, but 1.20.1 version works on Forge as well. So I'll start with 1.20.4 version. Here, press OK. I'm gonna use Prism Launcher. It works the same way, it's more convenient to set up with Modrinf Launcher or Prism Launcher or MultiMC or CurseForge, I think. So okay, edit, then version, then install loader, fabric, okay. Now we have fabric installed. Then we can download here mod because you don't have to go anywhere else. You can just here. So what we need is BBS mod. Select the latest here, and then select mod for download. And then we also need Iris. It's for shaders, and it's also gonna use not Fabric API, Sodium for optimization stuff. So you could use shaders and it will be more optimized, at least more optimized than vanilla. So let's say review and confirm. So this is all we need, yeah. And then I'm gonna go and install it. And for shader packs, we can also download here shader packs. So I like this one and this one. I think Photon also looks nice. Yeah, that looks good. And now all of them are downloaded. That's awesome. Now let's see, settings, Java installation. By default, I think it should work correctly. So let's see. All of the mods here, right? 1.24. Yeah, it's launching, so it works. But if it doesn't work here in the settings, you might need to change the memory you're given and also the Java. But here it seems like Prism Launcher knows what it's doing, and it's very cool. So now here I have
press enter
Minecraft.
to enable the narrator.
Let's disable music. New game, creative, and super flat. Just for the basically quickness of installation, just to check, to quickly check whether it works. Oh, that's a nice village. So press 0, and here we are. It works. Yay! So now I can close Minecraft and show you how to install the Forge version. The Fabric for 1.20.1 is the same thing. You just select a different version. So you select 1.21. Okay. And here edit. So here, instead of installing Fabric, you install Forge. And in the mods, download mods, what you need is a connector extra. Select mod for download. Then a BBS mod. Select for download. And then Oculus. Select for download. Review and continue. Let's see which mod is going. So BBS mod, connector extras, Embedium, correct. Forgified Fabric API, correct. Oculus and Sinitra connector. I think that's all we need. That's the essential mod pack basically. And with shader packs, I'm gonna do the same thing. So here, select, select, and select. Review and confirm. Okay. Awesome. Now we have Forge installed. Mods are the essentials. And let's launch it. Let's see how it's gonna go. Oh. It's already launched. It puts on another screen. Here we go. So yeah, this Sinitra connector mod is really insane. It allows running fabric mods on Forge. Not every mod works, but overall it's a great experience.
Press enter to enable the narrator.
Music off. New world. Creative super flat. And let's see if BBS mod works. 0, I press 0 to open the dashboard and it works. Awesome. We can even create a new film and see everything's working. So yeah. This is how you install BBS mod for Fabric and Forge. However, I'm gonna use this installation with modrinf. So now that we have installed BBS mod and it's working, by pressing 0 I can see models and stuff like that. Usually it's the supporters tab over here. We need to install a thing called a FFmpeg, which is used by BBS mod for video recording. Media format, the conversion from different files, it's used for example for transforming GIFs into lots of PNGs and stuff like that. And it's also used for downloading images from the internet by URL. So it's relatively easy. So first, if you're on macOS, you basically install this thing called Brew. It's over here, and then you install something like this. So just once you have Brew installed, you just type in Brew install FFmpeg and it's gonna install FFmpeg. And that's it. On Linux, it depends on the distro that you have, but usually it's one command, it's like sudo apt-get install FFmpeg. That's it. But with Windows, you have to go here, then download this essential version. Then once you have this version, you basically have it unzipped, so here, and then, for example, drag it to the local disk C. However, beside that, you also need to specify the path to it. I already have installed FFmpeg on my PC, so what I'm gonna do is go to the settings, and then right-click here, find the FFmpeg, and it's gonna find the FFmpeg and gonna fill in. You can check whether it works by pressing F4. Now it's gonna be recording. Press F4 again, and now if I go to press F6, game, config, BBS, movies, and then you'll have a video here, which plays correctly. So yeah, that's how it works. Now I have FFmpeg installed. And now we're ready to create a basic scene. So first, go and check in the keybinds that you have dashboard not conflicting with other keybinds. Now, go back, it was 0 key for me, so I press 0, and you'll be greeted by the support page. That's where people like you used to donate and stuff like that. A lot of supporters. Now we go to Films panel, and here we'll create a new film. I'll call it Basic. And then I'll have this screen. Here I have lots of controls, but don't worry about it. Let's start with the layout. The left area is where you have individual elements that's editing. For camera, it's clips. Then for replays, it's keyframes and stuff like that. Then you have on the right preview, and here you have additional like control elements that help you with like opening the replays, onion skin, and stuff like that. It doesn't matter right now for now. And here we have a specific editor for editing one element at a time. So let's say if we'll create a new replay, you can either click on this replace and add here, or you can click here, right click here, and add a replay. I'm gonna use, let's say, this character. So now I have a replay, and here I have keyframes. So first we gotta do is extend the camera duration. As the way it works is that whenever you have a scene, if I go back into the world, I can play back a scene like that, or by pressing right control. So here are keybinds, and then play film, right control. It's also worth mentioning that you have to check what is the record kernel replay. It's right alt by default. So okay, right control plays the scene, and then the actor will be visible only for 30 ticks, as shown here. Basically, the whole duration of the camera determines how long will the scene play. For example, if I'm gonna change it to 10 ticks, which is roughly half a second because 20 ticks is 1 second. Let's say I'm gonna save it, Control S, and then play it. Then gonna play only for half a second. This feels kind of longer than half a second, but it is. And if I'll change it to something like 1:30, it's gonna be 6.5 minutes, I think. Oh, seconds. Something like that, yeah. So yeah, let's go and like do a minor scene recording. So I guess I'm just gonna walk forward and stop. I'm gonna press right alt and I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna stop. I'm going back to the dashboard by pressing 0. And here you would see the action. We can move the camera by selecting it, so with the left click, and then pressing F to move around. By default, the movement is you can use WSD to move around, and Shift and Space to move up and down, but I have it in Q and E. So let's see where the actor will be. I think so, it's over here. Like that. Maybe even like that. Let's see how it looks like. So just actor moving forward. I have a little bit of settings already. It's not a clean installation. I have also here center lines and rule of thirds enabled and crosshair. This makes it a little bit easier to set up more harmonious, I guess, compositions. So this is basically a simple scene. Now you might ask, like, we need here some kind of skin. I'm gonna take this one. So let's say you have a skin, but I'm gonna take specifically this one. Let's say it's downloaded and to a folder. Let's see. I'm gonna download it. And then I can go here to replace, edit, pick texture, and then I'm just gonna drag and drop it here. And then I can pick it. And it would change here. Alternative way of doing that specifically with namespace, because here I can copy the link address. Then I can pick texture. I'm gonna press Ctrl V. And I'm gonna give it a different name, like Santa Steve PJs. And it's gonna download the skin as well. And now we have a guy with a skin, and it's basically recorded. Let's do a different one. We can add replay. And I would say I'm gonna take Alex. For example, what about this girl? It looks like a tree, like a slim skin. I'm going to go and edit, pick texture, Ctrl V. I have here some skins already, and I guess Christmas sweater. And I'm gonna download. Alternatively, if you have file somewhere line on the computer, you can just like drag and drop the file right here. So now, oh, it didn't seem like it picked the skin. And she's over there. And I guess what I can do, I can select Steve by holding Alt and click. I'm going to teleport to this Steve location by pressing Y. And I'm going to step aside and let's see. So let's say they are walking together. something like that. So I'm gonna select the girl by alt clicking on her, and then I'm gonna record. And right alt again to stop the recording, and let's see. So yeah, that's a simple scene that we have managed to record. Yay! Don't get overwhelmed by amount of data present on the screen. It's just, they are just keyframes. Once you get used to them, for example, understand how they work. These keyframes are for x-axis, so this is position, y-axis, the y-axis of position, so basically vertical. So for example, I can go and change here, and then she would be floating. Same here with Steve. These are just extra data that you can manipulate, and that's the power of BBS mods that you can do. And if, for example, you can go, let's say, see, she was delayed a little bit, so let's go by left and right arrow keys. So she started first, so then I can move her a couple of ticks back, and then she would actually start at the same time as Steve. So yeah, this is just, you gotta used to it. It's not really, it looks cluttered right now, but it's gonna look way more accessible later. Now what we can do is to record this video by clicking this button. We have a FFmpeg installed, so now it's just gonna record it. It finished recording. We can right click here and then open videos folder. You can take a screenshot if you'd like, and then you would see there would be screenshot. And open videos folder, and there will be the video. If you'd like to change the quality of video, you can go open video settings here, and then change to, like, by default it should be 720p. Well, it's 1280 by 720. However, like, the optimal one is 1080p. By default, it should look something like this. So yeah, now it exported in 1080p because it was by default you would have in 720p. So now we have our first scene done. Keep in mind that BBS mode doesn't record audio, so you wouldn't have any audio. However, if you placed any audio clip, which we'll do in the next chapter, you would have the audio if you would enable export audio option. And now we can record an advanced scene, more advanced. So let's go to the film editor and create a new scene. Basically, I accidentally recorded, but I didn't record. I created the scene, so we're gonna do something like this. Hello, sir. How can I help you? What would be your order today? Goodbye. So yeah, first we're gonna create a new dialogue. I'm gonna call it new dialogue. I'm gonna create it, and the first thing we need to do is to import an audio track. So an audio track could be either, for example, here I have a MP4 file, and it has video and audio in it. For example, if you'd like to make some edit, here I imported it, so it was already imported before. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add a new clip at current tick, and the audio clip. I'm gonna pick audio, and it's this one.
Excuse me, brah. And I'm not your bra.
And I'm not your bruh. And we can extend it. Let's say you'd like to create something like a meme video or something like that. However, that's not what I want to do. I want to do the other one. So let's go here, and then let's say it's a WAV file. It could be any, like almost any audio format or MP4 file. It could be an MP3, a WAV, a FLAC, an OGG, and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna drag and drop it here. Well, it's already here created. However, let's assume that it wasn't there. Beside that, you can also record from microphone. Let's say I'm gonna come up with something new, like new dialogue. I would like to report an item lost. What was that? It was a ruler. Ruler? Yes. Yeah, the dialogue isn't the best, but I just want to show you that it's possible to record from a microphone. Make sure that the microphone is actually like selected as a default microphone in the Windows system or Mac OS and stuff like that. It's gonna only detect the default one. But I'm not gonna use this one. I'm gonna go with Alt A, create a new audio clip. I'm gonna pick this dialogue. Hello, sir. How can this one I have? And I'm gonna extend it. I'm gonna move it a little bit, something like that, so that I would have some time for the character to approach the stand, because I have here. So I'm gonna move the camera away and save it. So now we have a bare bone scene that we could actually start recording to characters and then setting up cameras. In this specific basic dialogue scene, I'd like you to show how to set up, organize an audio track, how to record characters inside of the film editor and outside, and also set up camera and a little bit of basic animation of the characters through post track. So let's get into it. First, I'm gonna go into the replay editor mode, and I'm gonna create two characters. So these are my main characters. I'm gonna select the girl, and I'm gonna press H in order to enter the actor controller mode. The reason I need it to be this way is I'm gonna position the girl right next to the plate where she's assumedly serve the establishment. I'm not really sure how it looks like from her perspective. What we can do, I'm gonna press F3, F3, and F3 in order to go into the basically the first person mode, and it looks correct. I'm gonna press I. Now she's there. If I wouldn't press I, so let's say the guy is supposed to start right over here, and going back to the camera mode. I'm gonna exit with H key. You see he goes back because there is some data that actually keeps him this way. So I'm gonna go back and again from the first person orient so he would be walking toward the girl. I'm gonna press I in order to insert keyframes here. If you had him, for example, let's say inserted here, I, then there will be some animation. So you have to actually go back and specifically either remove the keyframes by selecting with Shift and LMB, so left mouse button, and then remove it with delete, or right click and remove keyframes, or you just have to initially specify where it was. So let's see again, first person, yes, character is oriented. So now I'm going to start from outside. I'm gonna record Steve in Snow Pajama. I'm gonna teleport to where he is by pressing Y. It's a controls keybinds and teleport to current replay. And then I'm gonna press right Alt and start recording. Hello, sir. How can I help you? What would be your order today? Goodbye. And then right Alt. The thing I forgot to mention is that sometimes your audio track becomes way more cluttered and there are so many characters, so it's hard to understand which characters have to bob the head, so like vertically move. So what we're gonna do and go here in the dialogue, I'm gonna select here dialogue. Hello, sir. How can I help you? And I'm gonna color it. So the girl would be light blue. I already have recent colors, but you can like change it to whatever you want. So I'm gonna pick this one. Then this is gonna be the guy. Red. I'm gonna like the way it creates is you hold control and then drag it. You can also their handles appear when you like need them to change. So I think it was something like this. How can I help you? What would be your order today? Goodbye. So yeah, something like this. So now I'm gonna save it here, and the audio track would also be here, be affected. The girl, I'm actually going to record her from the film editor. So how it is done? I can start recording at any clip I'd like to, or tick rather. I'm gonna change it to first person, and here I'm gonna go and click record replay or Ctrl R, and all groups or one. Hello, sir. How can I help you? What would be your order today? Goodbye. And then it's gonna finish itself recording automatically once it reaches the end of the film. If you'd like to record it like, let me go and change back to the camera mode. Let's say there'll be one more character that I would demonstrate upon. So let's say he would be standing somewhere here. Let's say like here, just chilling. I'm gonna press I, and I have to also remove these keyframes. So let's say he would be looking the direction of the guy. Hello, sir. How can I help you? And then I'm gonna press Ctrl R again in order to stop recording. This could be at any tick recorded outside as well, but you have to first pick the tick in the timeline. Then let's say I was somewhere here. I can press Y in order to teleport. And here I'm gonna click record replay and outside. What would be your order today? And then once I'm done, write alt. By the way, all of this is revertible. You can press Ctrl Z in order to control, like undo and redo actions. Majority of the stuff that happen, like, oh no, not majority, all of the stuff that happens within film editor, like the data you change here in camera, replay, and action editor are susceptible to undo and redo. So even if you go outside in order to record, as long as you don't change the film here, the undo history over here is present. All right, what would be your order today? Now we did record both characters with different ways, like outside or inside of the film editor. And now let's make a really easy camera. So it wouldn't look this way. I don't really need this character. So the way I think I would do it is basically I would separate, like cut this clip into multiple pieces by right click and cut clip, or Alt C. And something like this. So the first one, I'm gonna move around, move the camera with left mouse button, and then zoom in with the middle mouse button. Let's say something like that. And here, I'm gonna move, I guess, move in such position so I'm not gonna follow any like cinematography or composition rules, just like how it feels right. Your order. So maybe like this. And then where it was No, probably I need here another one. So here. So like that. Goodbye. And finally, maybe something like this. So fewer FOV degrees you have, field of view, the more cinematic it looks like. At least in Minecraft. So let's see how it looks like. Hello, sir. How can I help you? The pause here is it's really weird that there's a pause. Hello, sir. So what I would do is probably here, which shows like how powerful BBS mod is. I'm gonna go so here. He stops here. I'm gonna probably move. So let's see. Let's move these keyframes a little bit back. So I think we can do it minus 20 ticks and do the same thing with the guy. So here I think these could be negative 20. And then we also need to here, so duration minus 20 and also here. So I'm gonna, hello sir, how can I help you? Hello sir, how can I help you? Yeah, it's now more bearable. There's no pause, such long pause. Hello sir, how can I help you? What would be your order today? Goodbye. So yeah, this is the basic camera I have here. And finally, what I'd like to show you is how to animate the characters. So here, use a pose track. You can create keyframes by control and clicking. And then you can either pose characters using the gizmo. So by default, it's in the translate. It's G. You can either press G and then move around like that. Or once you like change to the gizmo type, you can basically toggle between translation by pressing G, scale by pressing S, and R to rotation. So at the moment, I can go and like move by different axes. So you have to like get used to it to understand which axis is what. But I haven't. Hello. But beside that, default player models also have some presets. Hello, sir. How can I help? So I can also use sliders here below to also change the position. How can I help you? And I can duplicate the keyframes by selecting either one or multiple and alt clicking and then clicking once it's selected. Hello, sir. How can I help you? What would be? Then let's do here another. So I'm gonna click shift and select low body because there's a special pose here. I mean, not pose, bone in the player's model that allows, like, if you click on the torso, it would actually just change like to the torso that can be rotated separately, like from the pivot point of the head. But low body has to be selected this way. And then I'm gonna reset translation. What would be your order? What would be your order? What would be your order to slow? What would be so as you can see by moving like around the keyframes, what would be your order? It changes the speed. The duration affects the speed of the animation. And then here I can probably use another cute one. And then flip the pose, or something like that. What would be your order today? Maybe like that. What would be your order today? Goodbye. And then I'm gonna animate so as she was taken aback by that. By quickly, and then into a thinking pose or something like that. Think somewhere here. By. And then I'm gonna also copy it over here and change it a little bit. Maybe by rotating the head, I can click middle mouse button in order to like negate the value. So yeah, now I animate the girl. So here are a couple of things I'd like to change here. Let's see again. Hello, sir. How can I help you? Let's see it would be your order. Full screen by pressing F1 today. Goodbye. You can notice that animations here are very rigid or something. It's like they're too straightforward. We can smooth it by selecting all of the keyframes in the pose track by Shift LMB and then clicking this button for changing the interpolation, or Shift T, and then change it to Hermite either by clicking or pressing H. So now look at it. Hello, sir. How can I help you? What would be your order today? Goodbye. So as you can see, I think you can notice that it was way more smoother. Let's try this segment. Hello, sir. How can I help you? This was smooth, and then I'm gonna change back to linear. Hello, sir. How can I help you? It wasn't smooth at all. So now let's see. Hello, sir. Yeah, change it back to Hermite. Hello, sir. How can I help you? So yeah, that's all for animation of the girl. Now let's do animation of the guy. I'm gonna put him in a thinking pose. Not sure which one though. Maybe this one. What would be your order today? In this specific situation, you can see that the arm is swaying and it kind of messes with the... It obstructs a little bit of the face. So I don't want that. I'm gonna select these two keyframes, select this limb, and I'm gonna change fix to 1 in order to make so that it wouldn't sway. Disable basically the underlying animation of the vanilla model. What would be your order today? Maybe here I could actually change it, dial down a little bit, but not fully. You see now it's sways, but not as much. And here I'm gonna go and switch to another thinking pose. Goodbye. And here I'd like to make like a wave. Let's see if I have some wave. Let's do just like dub. Goodbye. And walk away. Goodbye. I'm gonna also try and see if Hermite helps. What would be your order today? Goodbye. The transition here was too fast, I think. So what I'm gonna do is probably gonna add another one. Goodbye. Wait, let's see. I think it was too much here. Goodbye. And here there is some overshooting of the Hermite, and I'm gonna change it back to linear. Goodbye. Bye. So yeah, that's basics of posing. You have the gizmos or you have the sliders. You have the gizmos, you can change yourself. Like, the thing is, it's actually based upon, like, you click it and left changes to negative and right changes to positive. G, S, R change the type of gizmo, but you can also change those values over here yourself. So yeah, something like this. It's way more easier to control with Gizmo. However, sometimes you need some specific stuff you'd like to tweak here. So now we can deselect, scroll to the beginning, and then export audio and record this scene. Hello, sir. How can I help you? What would be your order today? Goodbye. Now, if I'm gonna right click, open videos folder, I would have here a video with sound. Hello, sir. How can I help you? It only records the audio clips over here. It's not gonna record any Minecraft sound. So yeah, something like this. Congratulations with your second scene. To finish the basics chapter of this tutorial, I'd like to show you one more feature called model blocks. So model blocks are special items in BBS mod. It's basically an item and a block that you can place. And then here you can go and edit how it looks like, where it's positioned and stuff like that. For example, here I can pick and like pick, for example, panda. I can rotate, move, stuff like that, and scale it down. So here I could have like a little decursive panda on the table. There are useful options like shadow. It's for vanilla shadow underneath the model. There is the look at and global. So look at, it's gonna always look at me. And global, it's a very useful feature. For example, you'd like to hide the model block somewhere underneath the ground, so people wouldn't be able to break it or edit it. But whenever you exit the chunk, in whichever it allocated, for example here, see, I enter the chunk again, and it disappears. So to prevent that, see where it is, I can go back to the editor and then enable global. And now it's going to be rendered always as long as it's in the render distance. So there's that. That's basically the whole thing about model blocks as blocks, but model blocks as items have more to offer. If you go into options, controls, keybinds, you can see here a keybind called item editor, which is home key by default. If I press it, I would have here a menu where I could edit how it looks like. For example, I can go and change it to something like a dolphin. Then a dolphin will be displayed everywhere, like I'll be holding it, it'll be in the first person, and it's gonna be in the inventory. There are more configuration to this. For example, I can change default one. Here, whenever I'm gonna change, it's actually gonna how it's gonna look like in the world when I'm gonna drop it. You can see now like this. If I'm going to edit it a little bit higher, it's gonna be higher, and if I'm gonna make it a little bit more smaller, like this, it's gonna be smaller. So with third person, I can configure how it looks like in third person. So let's say I wanted to be more as a as a club rather than a dolphin itself. It's like a little sword, I guess, somewhat. So I could grab it by the tail, like this. And in the first person, I'd like to be more like a gun. So maybe negative 180. Like maybe like this. And in the inventory, I could also change how it looks like. Little dolphin, baby dolphin here. So yeah, now I configured all of them to be, oh, and they look different. In third person, I probably should also Bring it a little bit down. Like this. Let's see how it looks like. It looks better. In addition to that, changing the transformation for each one of these kind, you can also actually change how it looks like for a specific one. For example, in the inventory, it could look like something different rather than a dolphin. And in the third person, it could be its own thing as well. For example, a pig. So yeah, it's good for roleplays and stuff like that. I never used it before, specifically in my videos as model blocks items, but it's a fun thing to play around with. One simple case for model blocks is actually pretty important. You can use them as billboards. For example, let's say I'm gonna edit, and then here I could have any picture over here. So let's see if I can take some cool pictures. For example, here I have a calm dog. I'm gonna copy image address, and then I think if I'm just gonna insert here. Yeah, there we go. Now we have a cool background. Let's upscale it. In model blocks, you can press F7 in order to see how it's actually gonna look like in the world. So yeah, something like that. We have. Let's go around and see. So I would be able to put it more precisely. So like this, and maybe I could also use it as another example. You can take this form, it's called extruded, and then we could take this pixel cloud, because it's like it doesn't have much of a what's called transparent pixels. Well, it probably does. Oh no, it actually does a little bit. Damn. But overall, it actually, yeah, it looks more or less good. So here we could have like this cloud. Damn, it's really sucks that there's some transparency. I thought that it wouldn't have anything. At least have transparency overall. And I could go here, for example, and add the body part, and then particles, and then I think water. Maybe splash. Or no, probably dripping. Dripping water. I'm gonna a little bit of change a little bit of offset. Maybe less. I'm gonna make the count it more. And maybe frequency to be more and less count. Stuff like that. So now we have a background decoration using model blocks. Let's see how it's gonna look like in a scene. Hello, sir. How can I help you? What would be your order today? Goodbye. So yeah, now you can see these decorations are present in this scene. And now we can get into more advanced stuff in BBS mode. The first thing I'd like to show you in the advanced category is eyes animation. At the moment, this scene is pretty animated, but we can make it even more animated. So let's start. I'm gonna start with Steve, and what we're gonna do first is I'm gonna add a new body part, and then control click on the head in order to select here the head limb. Now I'm gonna pick this ice rig 1 pixel, because Steve has 1 pixel rig, and we're gonna pick a texture here as well to Steve. BBS model already comes with textures for Steve and Alex, so we don't have to do anything here. However, it's not all. For the skin itself, we have to cut out the eye holes, which is done by clicking on the pencil icon, and then right-clicking to remove pixels. Now I can save it. I usually save the skins I have have no eye holes by adding underscore NE, meaning no eyes. And now we have a head with eye rig setup. So here I have some default like presets which I can use. So let's reset it. And now I can here animate the eyes. So starting here, I can on the 0/pose track, it's a pose track for the body part, the first body part in the basically in the model. I'm gonna create a new keyframe here and gonna add close and then duplicate here. And now I have some blinking animation. So maybe I'm gonna move something or the other way around. This feels really slow. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna scale down by pressing V and then move it like this. Maybe like that. And then here, I'm gonna probably look up. What would be your order today? And then maybe I could also, so let's see, up, then maybe here another blinking animation. So here I'm gonna create new keyframe and then closed. See. And then what would be your order today? Copy it one more time here. And then here, I'm gonna change it to something else, like maybe sleepy. Goodbye. And then here I could maybe make another closed. Oh, that's too slow. Blink animation. Hello, sir. How can I help you? What would be your order today? Goodbye. So that's pretty much it for Steve. However, with this girl, we have to do some more editing. So how it's gonna work like is following. So we're gonna do the similar thing. Select the body part, control click head to pick the head, the parent bone. And here I'm gonna use this IS31 rig. Basically, it's a rig that has some like you can add the eyes bend basically. I'll show you in a minute. So first I'm gonna bring it down a little bit, and now I have to actually edit the eyes rig and like adjust this texture for the skin. How it's done. So basically I'm gonna click here, find texture. I remember the name of the skin. It was sweater something, Christmas sweater. And now I can use this skin as a reference. I'm gonna zoom in and I'm gonna do the following. So first I have to like fill in the pupil. I think it's called pupil. Anyways, the colorful stuff. So I'm gonna just draw a line like that. It should be 12 pixels long. So I think there's 4, there's 6, and there's 2 of them. So there's the layout is on the left side for the left eye, and on the right side it's from the right eye, from this perspective. And now I'm gonna R in order to like pick the color and draw another line. Here we have to draw 2 pixels over here is the top part, and down here it's basically pixels like underneath the cube of the pupil. Then for the white stuff, I'm gonna use this color, R, and I can control B in order to fill. Then these are eyebrows. I'm gonna take this color, and I'm gonna fill this part. It's basically the eyebrows above. And also, I'm gonna draw here, these sections is gonna be basically these guys around here. And for the eyelids, for female eyes, I tend to also color it in this color, so it would be kind of like an eyeshadow. We could probably even make it darker. here, and then Control B. And for the eyelids on the bottom, I'm gonna use this color. I probably can also like change it over here so it would be this on the left, but I don't think it matters much. And also these sections, it's for the eye holes that cover the holes that usually happen due to the since the model is not, well, basically I'm not, let me just remove it and I'm going to show you what it actually does. I'm going to save it as Christmas sweater. Yes, Christmas sweater. And here, with this skin, I'm going to remove the eyes. I'm going to use these colors to fill in and then remove the eyebrows. And I'm going to save here as an E. Wait, let me double check that there are no, there are no any like eyebrows over here. So now, let's see, I'm gonna pick an E. And as you can see now, it works fine. I was talking about the eye holes. As you can see, if I like rotate around, I'm gonna disable the axis with F8. You can see that there are holes that are showing the insides. So what was that area beneath. So I'm gonna go back and edit here. I'm gonna pick this color and draw this 4:2 pixel area. Save. And now, ta-da, no more eye holes. And, ooh. So yeah, now we can animate. One thing I want to show you in addition is that actually beside posing the blinking stuff like that, there's one more thing that iOS 3 can do. So what it is basically you go to actions, enable idle control here for idle, use target. You would be capable of moving and recording the movement of the eyes in the actor control mode. So basically something like that. So I'm gonna press here Ctrl R, then left stick. Then I'm gonna just wing it, I guess. Hello, sir. How can I help you? What would be your order today? Goodbye. So basically I can record with the mouse the movement of the eyes this way. But in addition to that, I'm also gonna pose here, so probably something like, oh wait, I don't need it. Hello, sir. And here, closed eyes. How can I help you? Maybe one more blink here. What would be your order today? And here maybe I'm gonna switch to think it's cute. No. Let's see, maybe relax. Order today. Slower. Today. Goodbye. And here maybe switch to this. Goodbye. Maybe I could make it like goodbye. And here to maybe So yeah, that's pretty much the eyes animation. Let's see the scene without the other. Just the eyes. Since I was taking in the since I was using the one with bends, I forgot to show you the bends actually. So here I can create keyframes in shape keys row, and then I can, as you can see, by like changing these values. I could like set up the bends a little bit. There are no presets, so you have to do it manually. So maybe I'm gonna reset here. And here I'm gonna make them just a tiny bit. And maybe the lower ones as well. Or B, something like that. And here I think I'm gonna just reset them. And I can probably set them to negative in order to kind of like showcase that it's not a really happy mood, I guess. From this direction, it's not really visible. From this perspective, it's not really visible, but it is visible really well whenever the shots are very close ups. So yeah, our scene is so much more dynamic now. The next advanced topic I'd like to show you is anchoring replace to other replace. Let's say we have a couple of replace, an actor and a block. Let's make the block a tiny bit smaller. Yeah. So here we have an anchor track. Let's create one keyframe and then at 15 take another. So what it does, it allows you to attach one replay to another. So if we go here and pick player Alex, it would stick to the, I guess, the base of where the anchor is, and then head. So this way, I can attach and even transition one replay to another. This is useful for multiple things like animation of picking up objects, of handing objects from one to another, for attaching, let's say, actors to moving objects like trains, helicopters, and stuff like that, and etc. So the anchor keyframes have two options. I mean, beside picking which like replay to attach to and which part of it, there's also translate and scale. What translate does is basically attaches to the replay to position in the world basically, but it doesn't affect the scale or rotation. So this is demonstrated by, so here I have rotation, and if I move around, you see that the block doesn't actually changes rotation. But if I'm gonna disable it, now the block is sticks. And scale makes it so that the scale is not like affected. This is demonstrated well. For example, if I'm going to shrink the character, you see the block stays the same size. I mean, if I'm going to go here and disable it back, the block also shrinks with the head, with the local space of whatever the part it's attached to. So these are the basics. In theory, it's really simple. However, there are some challenges that has to be solved in order for it to look good. So here I have some template scene where, let's say, the character has picked up a sword and showcasing it to himself, to herself. Basically, let's try. So a naive attempt is to like add here a sword. So here, go here, then diamond, sword, and let me try here with the transform keyframe to orient as I'd like. So something like this, maybe. like that. And I'm not really sure about the rotation, so something like this. Like, no. In this situation with the animation, I'd like to show you a new feature. It's called free mode. So what I can do is go and move the camera, and it's not gonna actually return to the camera. So this is very useful for animation. So as you can see, it's not really the position I'd like the sword to be. So I'm gonna use the control mode in order to kind of like move the actor closer. I'm gonna insert keyframe with I, and let's see how it. No, like this maybe, and like this. I need to fine tune it. What you can do is, while holding, hold Alt. But if you need more precision, you can use mouse wheel to change the global amplifier basically, and like this. Something like this. Let's now, where was that? So here I created an empty keyframe, and then I'm going to attach to Alex, and this is, let's see, right arm. Where was that? Where is this one? And here we go. And the right arm. So yeah, this is not something I like to. However, player has something called right item, so we could try attaching to right item. Yeah, this is not really either something like, so this is we can try and maybe here animate the transform so it would look like we'd like it to be. So let's see, maybe what axis? No, like this. No. So this is already seems to be quite complicated. So this is not a working strategy. However, like what we can do now is actually an attempt to do a little bit different. So I'm gonna create a new one and create an anchor. Then I'm going to create here the sword here, and I'm gonna like change the, wait, not this one. I'm gonna change here some parameters. So for example, first 45 degrees, and then I'm gonna move so that the center point here, the origin, would be at the place where I'd like for the player to grab it. So I think something like this. Okay, let me try. Something like this looks like it's, yeah, that looks like a center. So now, here I can more or less, I guess, let's see, orient so that the handle would be over here. Oops. More, less. Let's insert keyframes here, and then fine tune it over here like this. And now transform itself, I can rotate so it would be 90 degrees, and like that. It's a negative 90, and maybe like move a little bit upwards. Now let's try, well, let me remove the shadow. Let's try anchoring now. Player, no, it was the right arm item. It's a bit better. Maybe if we would go and change over here and reorient the sword 90, and then -90. Let's see how this looks like. Well, now this is way more smoother. You could probably even move the sword in more like that. And if we like here, if we move it closer, we could probably make it even more seamless. So yeah, now it looks way more smoother. The ideal solution to this problem is actually lies in a double anchor form, nesting and previewing the axes so that the axes were synchronized from the start. BBS Motor is a really nice feature that lets you make it much easier to accomplish. So first, I'm going to go here. I'm gonna enable axis preview. And here I'm going to set it to right arm item. In theory, however, it's even better to do following. Create a new body part, right click here, add a form, select the anchor form, and then attach it to actual right arm item. Now, go and probably select, so that's basically oriented in a following way so that the y-axis would be up. I guess like this. Probably this is good. Let's see if that works out. Now for preview bone, select 0. So this is going to be preview for our anchor. Now add new replay. It's also going to be anchor. And here I'm also going to preview here anchor form. So I'm going to move here. I think this is something like that. Let's see. No, there. So the objective here is to synchronize so they will be the same. So I here guess messed up with the form, so I'm gonna just go and edit, and think I need to rotate it on the z-axis, so like 90. Yeah, now it's way much better. So now I'm going to select back anchor form, and here I'm going to add a new anchor form. Then inside of that anchor form, I'm going to add another body part, which is going to be the sword. So it was here, sword. Let's do it a golden sword because this is the golden solution. Oh boy. And now here, I'm going to rotate it 45 degrees. And I think it was 0.4 something. I don't remember. It was supposed to be... It looks like the center, I think. So now, here, I'm going to take zero transform, and I'm going to rotate here instead. So now you see, like, I rotated it the way it's supposed to be. And now I don't think I would need to actually animate anything here besides the anchor form. I use zero transform just for the convenience. So let's see, try, and 0. And ta-da! So if I press F8, this is how it looks like. It's almost flawless and without much of a pain in the ass. So let's see. Maybe here, I could probably, what I could do here, maybe like make the sword a bit higher and also remove the shadow, of course. Oh no. So yeah. Oh, it floats here. So here. Maybe actually just a little tiny bit of animation here. So yeah, that's the basics of axis synchronization. To reinforce the material, I'll show you more examples with how to use anchors. So here I have two characters. One would be jumping on the cars, and this one will enter the car. So first thing I'm going to do is basically I'm just gonna approach the car from, so let's see, no, first person, and just where's the car. Then let's say, while the car is, I'm gonna open the door. Oh, wrong axis. Let's say it would happen. And then the character would sit there. For this, I need in the car to set up an anchor point, or I think maybe close to this one. And it's gonna be an anchor. So I think a good place would be right somewhere here. Yeah. Now here, character approaches, and then Jeep 1, and then here, and then I'm also need to change the pose to a sitting one. So let's approach a bit closely. So maybe anchor a little bit like that. This, like that. Control C, Control Shift V, and maybe like this. Let's see. Yeah, looks optimal. Let's see. And now if the vehicle starts, or like driving, it's gonna look like, for example, if I'm going, you see that the actor would still be inside. Of course, for proper animation, I would have to open the door myself, and then, but this is just basics. And now let's see the other character. Where is that? Here. So this character would run towards the car. It's better to do it outside. Let's see, Control RR. So I'm jumping, and that's it. And here I probably do phone, so like that. Here I'm going to do an anchor, and I need probably also to add an anchor, another anchor here. So this one is gonna be on top of the roof. So somewhere like here, and below a little bit. And like that. And where's the characters are here? And I'm gonna attach it to Jeep and this one. This is probably too fast. And here I would also add, I guess, an arc. Doesn't like signifies the jumping, I guess. So it's quadratic out and quadratic in. And they probably I'm gonna remove here. And let's see. Yes, this looks too sudden. This feels not fast enough. But let's see how it looks like from 3. So like this. And then from here is probably also on another car. So I'm gonna copy this body part. I'm gonna paste body part. Should be the same place. And here, let's say another jump up occurs. Here, jip 1 and then 0. So let's see. And then maybe I could use the same keyframes. Right there. Just to simulate the walking, I guess, animation. And then remove. Maybe this could be removed here as well. And like that. Let's see. Let's try using a different. Nah, it looks cute probably. So yeah, if I'm going to like move this, it's also gonna move the actor. Basically, that's demonstrates like more or less the anchoring. It looks here way better than with the sword. But for way better looking, I think you would need to fine-tune the animation in order for it to look way more realistic. For example, adding the poses, like, but I would like to save some time on poses here. Besides picking up objects, you can also place objects, so like picking up and then place. So this, we have already an animation that I made here. So what I'm gonna do here is actually go and record as the character is going to go here and then place story here. Let's see. And then the default. Let's go to free and animate as the sword will get hang here. So here I'm going to raise an arm as if the character will hang the sword. I'll also, let's see, why is it say, okay, sensitivity. So I'm gonna orient something like this. Let's see how the axes are gonna look like. So at the moment it's something like this. Let's remember that. Oh wait, let's something like that. Wait. Oh. Maybe a little bit lower. And right item, something like that. Let's see. And let's try to fixate over here. So in order to fixate, like here, we have to enable again the preview. So it's for the 0. So let's see what is the preview here. Where is the axis? So the green one goes there, and I guess the red one is inside like that. So what we gotta do is for the sword, so let's say it's over here. Maybe here the arm has to go like this already. So in this stick, the anchor should be detached. So as you can see, it would go back to the place where it was originally. So what we gotta do is to actually go and move replay over here. And also duplicate it over, actually, what I think here. And duplicate this part somewhere around here. So let's see how it looks like now. So now it rotates. It's too slow, I guess. Maybe move these guys. So this happens because the axes, oh boy, are again not synchronized. So let's see what we have here. So we have here probably these guys. Let's reset. And as you can see, they are not in sync with this axis. So what we got to do is to synchronize again. So where is the blue one? So let's try here. Change the body. Will that help? Yeah. That helped a lot. But we also have to duplicate the body over here. It's for the horizontal rotation. And now I also probably need to move the position. So let's see, on x-axis, I guess, like that. And that seems like that's it. Let's see. Let's see how it looks like in free here. Let's disable access preview. Yeah, I think it's a bit too early. Maybe here. Yeah, now you see. So yeah, basically the trick is to align the axis again so that it will be synchronized, and also to place whenever you like release the object from one position to another, you have to also change the XYZ here. But XYZ has to stay still, and the body yaw has to stay in the original relations B, like right after it already transitioned to another character. So let's try attaching into the orbit mode, basically camera mode that allows you to attach the camera to the character himself. So I'm gonna position something like this, and let's see how it looks like. And yeah, and finally, handing objects from one character to another. Here I have another template. So basically it's Steve gives to Alex a melon. So here, let's check how does it look like. So let's create another body part here, and then I'll create an anchor, change it to G, and to right arm item. Let's see. So I think it would be optimal if we have something like this. And maybe no, like this. Yeah, that looks good. Let's copy this one and enable access preview on this. Okay, now let's do the same thing with Alex. So I'm gonna paste and enable access preview. So here we have a little problem. They are facing each other. So what I gotta do is probably rotate it on z-axis. So 180 degrees. And now they are oriented. in the same direction almost. Probably if I'll change it to linear, and here to linear as well, they are basically the same. So now with the melon, I could do a transfer. So from Steve, I'll change the transform here. Oh, wrong one. Too small. And let's see how it looks like. Maybe like this. And then go back to, and then here to Alex and 0. Let's try disabling both previews. Well, they are, maybe I should select both of them and then enable what's called fixated. So it's visible. Maybe if maybe I should here animate so that the right arm would reach toward. Let's see. Now probably I need back the axis previews. They are not the same. Oh, there's a certain amount of distance. Let's fix that. I'm gonna enable switch to local in order to adjust it more like. Well, I can't get it exactly the same, but I think it's good enough. And here maybe to linear. Or maybe I'm just gonna do it like this. Nah, it probably should be linear. And now let's try disable axis preview. And yeah, I think this is good. So yeah, anchor and replace, that should cover all the bases. There are two important features that I'd like to show you related to animation that would be really useful. So the first one is called orbit camera. Basically, it's kind of like a free camera where you like move around. However, it works a little bit different. First of all, the movement is done through, well, WSD as usual, and the movement is usual itself, but the mouse is moved with the middle mouse button, and it has a special mode. When you press Z key, you can also rebind it over here. Let's see where it was that. Here, orbit hold. You can move around like orbit. And whenever the character moves, it actually follows the character itself with the anchor bone of the main thing. It's very useful because this way you can like animate very precise. For example, you need leg or like I guess somewhere here, and then it would like stay with the camera. So, and then the second feature is called onion skin. What it allows is basically you can see with a different color. So if I, let's say, make it even solid, you can see previous and next keyframes, and you can set multiple of these and like change the, I guess, the opacity. You can see where you should put a limb if you would like to animate and like synchronize it further. So this way I animated here the arm, so you see like multiple keyframes are basically stuck in the same place. And yeah, it's mostly for syncing and previewing the future frames. Beside that, let's say if you have multiple characters that you'd like to see in the future, you can enable for all, or if you'd like to focus on another set of keyframes, for example in transform or something like that, you can select here. Beside that, I also want to show you that there is like additional pose and transform overlay properties which you can animate. So that means that, for example, let's say I'd like the character, let's say I'd like to control the head separately from this pose track. So this way I would have more control and to be asynchronous basically to this track. And then reset here probably. And it will be out of the sync with this track. And if you need more overlay tracks, you can go here and then enable more additional overlays. So for example, I need 5 more. I'm going to go outside and then like you'd see now there's more of them. You can also hide them. For example, you can enable them all and then hide them when you don't need them. For example, I don't need right now this many, but they still be available and then you could use them. So yeah, that's pretty much about animation features. I at first wanted to animate this sequence myself, or actually like make the character go upstairs, but it looked way too awful, and also I'm not really good at animating, I guess, with BBS I wanted myself. So yeah, and the final advanced feature in this section is multiple replay management. So in replays, I have like there are multiple features that allow you to edit multiple replays at once, basically, which is really useful if you have like a lot of actors that you like to stop, but it's not really the most optimal ways for recording. Like if you need something like armies, it's probably better to have lots of NPCs and then try to somehow control them. So in this scene, I'd like to make so there be a crowd of people and they would be like dancing or something. There is, I guess, the singer, and there'll be a crowd. So I'm gonna hold Shift, right click, and then add a replay. And let's start with an actor like this. Let's see how it looks like from the first perspective, because and really yes. And let's see what about body yaw and yeah, it's not optimal. I need to be specifically to 70, so it would, so the character when it walks, when gonna walk, it's actually gonna be in a straight line on the x-axis, because otherwise it's not gonna look well. So here I'm going to record the character going forward. This is gonna be basically a template. I'm gonna remove this and I'm gonna select all of this right now with Control and comma. All right, let's see. Now I'd like to make a crowd. I think I'm gonna use like some formulas for it. I need so it'd be 9 by 9 because I need 3 groups, as I have 3 kinds of dance here animated. So let's see, but so I think 33 times 3, 99. So I could create, no, I would say 9 by 9 by 9. Wait, no, just 9 by 9, and be 9 times 9. 9 times 9. It would be 81, but divide by 3, it would be groups of 27 actors. So I'm gonna call it 1. I'm gonna duplicate it 26 times. Now I'm going to duplicate this one once, change it to 2, change the skin to, I don't know, let's say this one, duplicate it multiple times, 26 again, then duplicate again. By holding Shift, you like bypass this screen, change the skin again to something else. Probably this one. And then I'm gonna duplicate again 26 times. Alright, now I have groups of 3 by 3 by 3. Alright, they're 9 by 9 actors, but within 3 groups. What I'm gonna do now is go on process replace. I'd like to make it so that the actors be like in a row or something like that. Like kind of like. So this can be done with formula like this. So O, which is a relative replay index, model of 9 times 1.5. And let's see how this is gonna look like. Yes, this is wrong axis. Let's do Z. It's not centered, so I need to subtract some amount. So let's see. Minus 1.5 times, so 4.5. Almost. I guess just 4, because I have. Yeah. Now let's do the same thing on the x-axis, but instead of using modulo operator as a percent, I'm gonna use this one. And now we have an army, or rather a crowd. Let's see how it looks like. Yeah, they are perfectly gonna march. I think we should add a little bit of I guess spread. So I'm gonna press V. I'm gonna type V plus random. Let's say it's -1, 1, then O times some random number. And then times 1.25. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with Z, but now I'm gonna remove some numbers and add others. So now they wouldn't look like they're all in the same place, basically. It's a bit, I guess, let's take one in the middle. It still a little bit looks uniform, but it's a little bit out of, I guess, sync, maybe. Yeah, I mean, if you'd like, you can go and like take some of these and shift yourself like a tiny bit, like this or something like that. I don't know. But overall, I think it should work. Now, what I'd like to do is to add a little bit of delay to all of them. So I'm gonna take this one, I'm gonna scroll down, press shift, and that would select all in a row. And then I've set replace time. And here I think I would do random from 0 to 5. Like, so they wouldn't start all at the same time. All right. Now, let's see. I'm gonna take this guy. I'm gonna copy all of these keyframes. And I'm going to first, like, select random amount of replays. Just gonna carefully hold control and click as I'd like to. And now I'm gonna give them like a new name, so I could differentiate. Let's say this, and then paste keyframes. Wait, I need to specify where I'd like to paste them, so I think they would be here. Replace, then paste keyframes, and say 5 ticks. So let's see now how that looks like. So now some of them will start dancing. All right, that's awesome. Now let's do the same thing, but with another dance. Let's select some of these. Probably should have added an option to specify selection or something like that. And that's like this. Now, first I actually had to copy keyframes. Copy. Yeah. Now I have to select again. Yay. And now paste keyframes again, probably maybe 4. And now select these keyframes, copy. Oh, I probably also do these guys. Copy, and so somewhere around here. And then, oh, and now I'm gonna also BBBBB. I forgot to name them. So now I think I can just select the remaining numbers. Like that, like that, like that, like that, like that. And almost done. C, and then paste. 4. And now we have tons of dancing. I guess a crowd. Wait, some of them don't have, I guess. Maybe I could just make the action just paste it. Well, that's it's too far away. And I guess these guys could be removed. Remove this one, remove this one, and remove this one. Let's see how it looks like. And now all we have to do is basically, I guess, pick the skins. So maybe I don't really need to, so I guess 1 again. Edit, pick texture, and then 0. And now we have a ton of fun girls. The one thing that is kind of missing is that they don't look at the guy himself, but it is what it is. So yeah, it's a bit, a bit is an underestimation. It's a bit limiting, but it does work a little bit. Now, let's take a look at miscellaneous features in BBS mode. So the first feature I'd like to show you is called entity selectors. Let's say we have a lot of cows here. This much cows. And then, if I go to entity selector, I can right click here in the list, add an entity selector, then type in the ID of the entity. I think you can find out an ID of an entity by using one of those information mods where you hover onto the entity and then see, but cow, it's Minecraft :cow. And then select a form, and then you'll see there's a lot of monk horses. And they behave like cows. So this way you can, for example, spawn a bunch of zombies, and then you can, I guess, create fight or something like that between mobs, as if they were something different. It's worth mentioning that general properties like hitbox and all of these will not work. And beside that, there is you can target specific name tag. For example, let's say I have name tag animal, and then I'd like to only target a horse. That is my horse. So the my horse. And let's see, so 0 selector and then mock horse. Then only this horse will be, or rather this cow would be mock horse. Let's say if you had like a baby cow that you'd like to target, you can use the NBT field over here. Age -1. There you go. And then only babies would be more horses. So yeah, it's useful. It doesn't work with all entities, but it should work with majority of entities that are basically living based, i.e. like mobs and stuff. It wouldn't work with items, with arrows, with special effects like lightning bolt and stuff like that. Two of the most important things to know, or rather hotkeys, keybinds to know in BBS mode are F9 and F6. So F9 is a thing that allows you to, it's a panel of currently available keybinds. It doesn't show like everything, but it covers like maybe 90% of things. So yeah, in any place where you can press F9 or just press F9 and you would see what's possible. For example, if you go here and press this button, you would see there is so much more gonna be keys there. And whenever you are like, in some menu, you can see what is up like available. For example, even the utility panel is over here. And then utility panel, it's what it's called, utility. Here you have like buttons to open very important like folders, like the game it's where .minecraft is located, models is where models, audio is where audio. Reload allows you to reload certain parts of BBS mods, for example, textures. Language, it's for people who translate. Models is useful. And sounds and terrain, I think terrain doesn't work, it just execute default commands is a useful feature. You, for example, create a new world, and you can click on that button in order to execute following commands. If you cannot use commands, you can use BBS cheats and then set true, and it should in the single player enable cheats, or disable if you'd like to disable, and set false. Then going back, here you can also like resize the window. Wow. It didn't work correctly here. Seems like it's pushing me to the main monitor, so whatever. Language things for people who translate. It's like even open language editor is basically if you'd like to translate into some other language, you can here go and start translating. Make sure to save regularly. And then once you have like the language translated, open language folder. And Open Audio Editor is just, it used to be a separate panel, but then a separate overlay, like floating panel like this one. But then it turned into its own editor. And finally, CDNs for a feature that I would probably just link it above because it's really difficult to explain how it works, and I already covered in the previous videos. There's one more thing though, and it was UI trackpad fields. So these guys are called trackpads, at least that's how I call them in the code. These are numeric values that allows you to change the values by drag and drop, and it's basically just for numeric, yeah. Things you have to know, or rather it would be useful to know, is that you can actually use mathematical expressions here. So let's say you need 10 divided by 2, it's actually gonna correctly calculate that. Beside that, if you middle mouse click it, it's gonna invert the value. Very useful for like rotation stuff like that, or like flipping certain parts. Then you can use mouse wheel in order to change the value itself by like dragging. If you don't like this behavior, you can disable in here, wait, trackpad scrolling. Then these are pretty obvious. You just click on them and they're gonna add or subtract 1. These work by like dragging from one side. Actually, like you see the cursor wraps to the other side. Then if you drag and hold Alt, it's actually gonna make it slower. And if you press Shift, it's gonna make it even more like stronger. And finally, with these fields, is that if you hold, but you mouse wheel, you can change the like amplitude, like global amplitude, so it's gonna make it even more weaker or stronger, so you wouldn't have to. So if you like don't have enough precisions, if you don't have enough precision to drag these fields. So yeah, these are the coolest fields I think in my mod. There's also like I guess text area, but this I think I like these a lot. Those are not the only cool things about UI. There is also a couple of more things that I like to show. The first one is media convergence. So here I have some files that I have prepared. It's a lot of sound files, an MP4, and some textures. So the way it works is basically you open the BBS mod dashboard, and then you can go and drag and drop it. You can see it was actually generated here dialog 1. If I'm going to drag another one, .av, for example, it created one more, and now there's dialog 2. And as you can see, they are the same size, so it's the same file. MP3 also gets converted to wave. Then .flag is also converted to wave. And from the sounds, I think, and there's also just a wave file. And it also gets converted to wave. The thing is, the wave sometimes has to be converted, or rather, you should probably just drag and drop. You should just drag and drop into the window, because BBS mod works really well with specific format of waves. So it's 16-bit, 48,000 frequency, like HD, and mono. It doesn't really work well with stereo. It doesn't really work well with anything than 16-bit. I think there is some conversion from 8-bit and 24 and 32-bit into 16-bit, but sometimes it's not flawless, basically. So yeah, it's best to go and convert WAV files as well by drag and dropping. In addition, it just makes it easier because now you can just drag and drop and then place it where you'd like it to be. Then with MP4 files, it's actually a video, but what it does, it's actually extracts the audio from it.
What are they doing over there? I don't know.
So here I have downloaded a shot from Russian Badger. I'm gonna drag and drop it, and then I have funk here. Well, I guess I already converted prior to that. And if I'm going to go to audio clips and audio funk,
what are they doing?
And I have this audio file there. Now with textures, so let's go and edit. By default, if I'm gonna drag and drop a file, let's say this guy, it's actually gonna get placed into BBS assets. It's probably not what you want. Let's say you have a model like Steve and pick texture, and now you'd like to be placed in this model. So you'd like it to be placed in this folder. So what you do is just drag and drop here, and then it's not gonna even open the folder because it's already there. Same with a regular, what's called a regular PNG. And there's also, this PNG is the same as this one, but there's a difference that it is actually 64 by 32. It's the old skins format. Oh, there is a lot of them. So I'm gonna just drag and drop it, and it actually gets converted to 64 by 64 from 64 by 32. So and finally there is also GIF option. So let's go back to textures. I'm going to create a new folder here. Nan GIF. And I'm gonna open it here, and I'm going to drag and drop it here. And then I would see that there is multiple frames extracted from a GIF. Why is this useful? Is that because, well, you can technically go and like place one here and then another one like that. So 9cat 1 and stuff like that. So you can place frame by frame like this, but actually a way easier way to do it. So I'm gonna duplicate here. It's 8. So this is gonna be the first frame 1, and this is gonna be the last one. The way it works is that if you have an underscore and a number before PNG, it's actually gonna animate it through. See? Whoa. So this way I can animate a GIF. If I repeat it lots of times, I'll get a repeated animation. Well, I think that like because of this gap, it's actually doesn't look good. So let's see, Control Shift. And if I move very close and do the same thing here, maybe this is gonna look good. See. Yeah, now it's almost flawless. So yeah, this way you can control the actual animation of a GIF. Beside that, there's a couple of features I'd like to show you specifically in the texture editor. You can draw like this. You can place one pixel and then shift click, and it's actually gonna draw a line. You can Control Z, Control Y, basically undo, redo. You can resize, basically actually upscale. So for example, if I'm gonna specify 4 by 4, it's gonna actually make it smaller, so resized. And 32 by 32, it's gonna actually upscale it using nearest neighbor algorithm. So this is basically useful if you'd like to, like, I guess, cut out and then make it HD, I guess. If you have a skin, let's say this guy, and let's edit. Like, you want to draw some, I guess, detail here, you can just go here and then 256, 256, and now you can draw a smile or something like that. And I guess remove. I should have probably removed it first and then and now if I'm gonna save it, 256, it will have a smile. As I shown before, Control B is to float fill, Control Shift B is to replace all of the similar, actually the exact same color. Beside that, there is also a reference editor where you can, for example, if you would like to take certain colors and then use it here. So we already did that with the creating eyes textures, eyes rig textures. And finally, the texture editor, there are a couple of useful features. So first one is that if you know the name of the file, you can just type in here and then to basically jump. For example, if I had Alex, then let's say T Swift, it would change like that, or 0 PNG and stuff like that. But let's say you don't remember exactly where it was. For example, I'm here and I don't know where it is, but I remember the name. So I press Control F. It's gonna find all of the textures in the assets thing, and then I can go and it's like around 14 PNGs like that, and then it's gonna pick this one, which is really, really useful, especially if you have a good memory of what skins are called. But beside that, you can also just look at the entire list of all of the skins that you have, and then based on that, oh, it's a URL. And based on that, you can, I guess, pick a skin you'd like. Let's say there is a certain combination of keyframes or clips you use very often, but like there is no place to store it somewhere. You probably maybe copy paste it into like copy and then paste it into like a new text file or something like that, and then you like need to reuse it a lot. BBS mod has a presets mechanism in certain parts of the features, like certain parts of the mod. So let's say I have this cool shake that I use a lot. Let's pretend. You can click View Presets or Ctrl-Shift-V, and then whatever you have selected, you can actually save as a preset. I'm gonna call it Cool Shake. And now I can go on Ctrl-Shift-V and paste this shake. This mechanism is pretty easy, but you can like create your own libraries of combinations of clips. For example, if I have here an actor and I'm gonna create some kind of like a dance for players, I don't know, like let's say this is some kind of emote. I can also create a preset here, so cool dance, and Ctrl-Shift-V and dance. This feature exists in clips editor, in replay editor, or rather keyframe editor, in body parts, so over here, then in animation states over here, then in textures. So for example, if you create a texture and here, you can also create like some kind of like a multi-skin preset or something like that. And finally, in BBS gun also here, in the editor over here, you can copy and then you can paste it, something like that. So you can create presets of the BBS guns you'd like. All of these presets can be transferred to another, I guess, computer. It's in the BBS settings and presets. You can take all of these folders. For example, in keyframes, I here create cool dance, and I can just take and send it to my friend or sell it. Let's say you have like a very cool collection of, I don't know, effects for the camera. You can create them and then I guess sell as JSON files, or just like share with your friends or workers, or sell. Whatever you'd like to do it, yeah, like you can do whatever you would like with them. It's just like your data. So yeah, presets. And now let me show you some cool tools you can use to work with keyframes. So let's start with selection. You can select individual keyframes by holding Shift and then adding them to your list. If you need to select a lot of keyframes, the best tool is probably to use is hold Shift and then drag it. You can add more keyframes to the list, but you cannot like subtract them. Then we have by the same value. For example, let's say we have here a couple of keyframes. I probably know it here, like maybe, and then I'm gonna add a couple of keyframes that are of the same, so I duplicate. Now I can like hover on one of the keyframes and press L in order to select the same keyframes that have the same value basically, and I can do here the same thing. Then we can select by a column. Let's say I'd like to select all keyframes here in a column that is specific here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hold Shift and Alt and then left click it. This way I can select all keyframes vertically on the same X value. The more it zoom out, you actually can select more of here. It's like depends actually on the distance rather than on the X value. And finally, for the last selection tool that we have here is select to the left or to the right of the cursor. So you can right click and select to the left or select to the right. You can also hold Shift and select to the left or select to the right in order to only select on specified keyframe track. This is also works, I think, with a period. No, F9. It's yeah, it's Control and period and the comma to the left and Control and period on the right. Now let's talk about transformation. Here we have some animation over here. If I would like to repeat some kind of like sequence, for example, we have here, let's see, this one would be stuff and then stuff 1. So if I'd like to repeat it, I'm gonna zoom out and then press B And then with the mouse wheel, I can actually like create multiple of them. So left click is to accept the changes, so it's something like that, and right click is to decline. Besides using mouse wheel to set up the offset between keyframes, you can use, I think, shift in order to change the offset out of the grid. But if you would like it to be on the grid, you just use it like this, and then just click in order to repeat. If you don't like how fast or slow it is, there is a V key that lets you basically scale it. You can scale it like this, or if you press Control, it's actually gonna scale it on the grid. So basically all ticks would be there the same, like rather full numbers instead of, for example, if I'm gonna drag here and then there will be, you see, floating numbers. If you have lots of keyframes that are not evenly placed between two keyframes, but you'd like them to be evenly placed, you can hold Alt and B in order to take and spread them like evenly across between like first and the last keyframe. And finally, the tools for duplication of keyframes. You can either, for example, select multiple keyframes and then click Alt in order to duplicate. It actually works as well on multiple tracks. So, for example, if I'm gonna select these guys, it's gonna be also duplicate. Beside that, you can right click and copy keyframes, or just Control C and then paste it with Control V, or right click and paste. And that's pretty much it. So these are the tools to work with keyframes, but there's just one more option that is kind of like separate, I guess. And this is called adjust values. So the way it works, let's say you have here values, and let's say I actually want this character to be over here, and I need here to be actually adjusted. The position has to be adjusted, so I don't really need that. Okay, so what has to be done over here? First of all, I'm gonna like paste it like this. As you can see now, it travels there. But what I need to be actually, all of these values are shifted to be like, I guess, so my character would be walking around the crafting table. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select these keyframes and these keyframes, right click, adjust values, and to the right side. Now all of these values over here were basically adjusted. The way it works is basically gonna take all of the keyframes here. It's gonna take the closest to the most right one if it's adjusted to the right side, and then it's gonna calculate the difference and then just basically subtract from this. So this is only needed for adjusting like values. Keep in mind that it's not a magic formula for example, changing so that the motion would be around certain point or something like that, or transforming how the path is calculated, just adjusts the values. And that's pretty much it with keyframes themselves. Yeah. I know that certain amount of people use BBS mod to create thumbnails, so I'd like to show you how to do that. So I usually start with, let's say, I'm gonna place a model block, and I'm gonna put some actor there. I think I'll use this one, because I already have eyes created for. So I'm gonna add a new body part here. Select the head by control clicking it. And then eyes, get these guys, and then pick texture, and yeah, the eyes are perfect. Then I will start rotating. So let's say I'd like to make something like this, maybe, I don't know, maybe to be one more character here, and it'd be this girl, and she would be sitting or something. I don't know. Sitting. Let's see over here. How are we looking now? Yeah, something like this. I could start posing. Let's say I'm gonna use one of the presets. Like, oh my god. And then here I'm gonna also like use another look left preset, and then I'm gonna edit this one, and then I don't know, I'm gonna probably just make some pose. Oh, like this, like this, like this, like this, and maybe should look into another direction. So stuff like this. Yeah, looks more or less fine, I guess. Maybe I could also like change the top left, and gonna grab that. LTL, so LTLB, no, RRT. So now I can probably change the spectator mode. Now options to FOV, and then maybe press F2. But this is not really good because you can't really reproduce this effect. So my way to go is actually create a new film. I usually call these something like name of the scene and then TN for thumbnail. And now I can start like setting up the cameras the way I'd like to. Maybe this, but now we have a problem, is that what you call it is that I can't really edit these characters. So for this occurrence, for this moment, I really liked an idea of having there a feature that allows you to turn a model block into a replay. So if I right click here, I can from model block, and I think I need to turn these two into the what's called a replay. Prior to that, you have to probably take in and see which coordinates they are at, but since they're both Alex, I know it's actually that. So now I have to remove these guys, and let's see. Oh, and now as you can see, they are replaced, and I can start editing. So I could like maybe position her like that. I can change the pose, shift and right click and pose, and then maybe the, I don't know, like heads differently. I can maybe like use roll, and we could add even more replays. For example, Makshabi here. Let me, where's the guy? Position him as well. And G. And now we have some kind of like, let's say this is the thumbnail. You can probably add more effects with either curve clip, or you can change shaders and stuff like that. Maybe like go out in the world and change shader. The lighting here is a little bit weird. So what I'm gonna do actually is change the angle so that I would have a way better one that I like more. Maybe like this more. I should probably also X out of the view. And like this. I could probably also add some kind of an effects, for example, saturation here. if I really like these kind of colors, I could make a thumbnail like this. Then if I need to screenshot, I can take a screenshot, but maybe you need like even a more higher quality screenshot. You can take a screenshot here, then change back to 1080p and take a screenshot again, and then here we would have, you see, 10 megabyte screenshot, which is 4K. So yeah, something like this. One frequent question that is asked a lot on the Discord server is how to make certain parts of the texture glow. So let's say I have complementary reimagined, yeah, basically any shader that has PBR or material support would work. I'm gonna set the time to night, so 14,000. And in order to make the texture glow, what you're gonna do is basically create a new texture. Yeah, save as. No, probably it's better done in a separate editor. So what you gotta do? So it was it was 1 PNG. What you gotta do? You have to pick an area where you'd like to. That you would like to glow. For example, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be the eyes. I'm gonna create a new layer, and then I'm going to take and pick exactly blue color. It has to be 0000FF, so fully blue. And here, oh, and then with the pencil, I'm gonna mark it as the region I'd like to make blue, like glow. Then on a new layer, pick the black color and fully fill, so like this. So basically the area that you'd like to glow should be blue, and then the area that shouldn't be blue that shouldn't be glow, it should be black. And now I'm gonna export it, and it has to be named the same name, but you add underscore s at the end. Let's add this, and now it doesn't glow. Let's try again. So maybe if I'm going to I need to change here to see SUS PBR, and also in materials, here I have to disable parallax occlusion mapping, and then it should work correctly. Let's see. Yeah, now the texture is glowing. So you can add anywhere on the skin more blue. So let's hide that, and maybe, I don't know, like, oh boy, blue, I need blue. So maybe I'm gonna add these as blue back in, and these regions would also glow. A very important thing that has to be discussed is basically limitation of Hermite interpolation regarding to its animation. Hermite interpolation by itself is really smooth. However, there are certain cases where the overshoots it does is really messing up with the animation. So here I have a girl who places her foot down and then pulls it back. The problem here is this segment. As you can see, it's supposed to be glued in, but it actually overshoots. And if you have animation where you have to manually, like, synchronize the movement of the leg, it's actually messes up. So the solution is to just add linear, and then it's gonna look fine. If you have multiple keyframes, it's probably best to like record, or rather animate the legs separately on pose overlay or on additional pose overlay, like these guys. So let's say, or on these additional overlays layers. Explanation to this is following. So let me create a new keyframe clip, and then I'm going to move here, then move a bit forward, and then move back. Now, if I'll go and enter, you would see that this looks like that. But if I'm going here and select all of them on Hermite and then go back into edit, you would see that there will be overshoot due to the way neighbor values affect the interpolations. You can see if I'm going to change here, it's actually also changes here. So the solution is simple. You take these keyframes, the left ones, and change their interpolation to linear. So now there is still smoothness to the movement, but there is no this overshoot. Now let's talk more in detail about forms. So forms are special things in BBS mode that allow you to either make it, basically it's appearance thingy with the additional configuration. Different forms have different properties, and there are a couple of mechanisms related to forms. So forms are used in films, they used in anti-selectors, they used in BBS gun with model blocks and stuff like that. And here is the main panel for configuration. So here you can manage them a little bit. You can create new ones, you can edit, and the main thing here is that you can actually morph, basically turn into the forms. So you can morph into a form. The main thing here is like once you click, you become that thing yourself. So if I go to the world, I become that thing. It doesn't grant you special abilities if you like, yeah, it doesn't do that. You have to actually like configure it yourself. For example, here, oh, I did something. Okay, here. I can change here like hitbox, for example, and make myself, I guess, taller, smaller. I want to make myself smaller. Maybe like 1.79. And like this, and HP, for example, I can make it 100. Oh, that's a lot. And speed, I can make it myself. Wow, that's a lot of digits. 0.5, and step height is 3, I guess. So I could be a little sneaky, fast guy. For example, how many was that? With this form, I had a lot of health. Wait, let me get back. And 3 step height. So what that means? I can just go and step onto it. Probably the speed is way too much. Let me reduce it a tiny bit. Yeah. Wait, it didn't change? I guess I have to demorph over here. Maybe 1.9. I can just step because I have step height 3. So this is basics of the specific these configurations. Let's start with, instead of going over every form possible, let's start with categories. So here I already have a category called macros. These categories are useful is that you can create a configuration and then basically place a form into that category, and it would be stored. So in recent forms, it only stores forms that you used until the next gaming session. You can also go here and then remove all forms, and there'll be nothing here. So let's say I'm gonna make like some custom configuration with, I don't know, like maybe I would have a block for a head, a gravel block. I'm gonna like make it smaller, adjust a tiny bit. And I'm gonna make it like some display name like block head. And let's say I would have a new category called block heads. And I'm gonna copy to category block heads. And if I'd like, I could make like maybe a different one, let's say with this skin. And then I'm gonna change it to, wow, to gray concrete. And it actually changed here. So keep in mind that if you edit it in the morphing panel, it actually lets you change them here. So it's a good thing that I had blockhead. So here I can change back to gray head, and here gravel head, and here I have custom things. So I can remove it from here, but keep in mind that these are saved as specifically where it's in. Let's see, in config, BBS, settings, forms, and here we have, okay, these files are not needed, so I think 0 is the first category, so it's more coarse one. So here, Makchab, yes, it's that one. And then the second one is blockheads. So yeah, categories is a way to save your configured things. And you can send to your friends this, I guess, file, this folder. Now let's take a look specifically at specific forms. So let's see, we have at the main, like at the center of these forms is basically models. Models, well, as any category has, as any form has, it has body parts. And here you can like change the model to anything else. You can change the skin. You can change the color. So it's a color filter. Instead, it doesn't actually change the color, it just multiplies those values. Blah blah blah. You can pose the character here and stuff like that, and then fixate limbs. So basically do a pose, then they have actions. Player models don't have actions themselves. For example, if you have a model loaded with block bench, I have here belly chubby, it's Normie, his name is Normie. Probably I should add eyes to him, which is done something like, where are his eyes though? Like this. Okay, good. So in the actions panel, you can specify different actions. I have some emotes. I guess I have to. I think it's better to check this feature on the model block. Probably this one, this way. Yeah, so this way it's actually like rotating and stuff like that. So here I can pick a different action, and then so the idle action is when just the person stays. This way you can actually change an animation if you have it in block bench. Jump is where jumping, so it occurs when player or like the model jumps up. Landing is triggered when a player or an actor lands on the ground. Running is when he starts walking. Shoot, I don't think it works. Sprinting, it's when the character starts sprinting with like a controller pressing W twice, and swipe, it's when you left click and then the arm goes. So I think, let's see, if I give a mode up to swipe, and then I'm gonna change back to idle, I'm gonna use it on myself. I think it needs a special configuration because running doesn't have, there's no run animation, so running is this and sprinting is just this, but it's faster. So yeah, I walk and then I can dab in any moment by left clicking. So these are the options specifically of forms, model forms. Then we have billboard. It's just a picture, I guess a texture. You can pick, for example, let's go with this one. These are actually the icons you have here. So a couple of options here. So it changes the color, like billboard, it makes so that it's always facing the player. Linear allows you to make it so to be more smoother. Texture, for example, it's if you don't want it to be pixelated. Map is a feature to whenever it's too far away, it's stops rippling, I think. I don't remember, to be honest. Edit crop allows you to like crop the texture to specific coordinates, so this way you can, I guess, select a certain icon or part of the model. Let's see if this maybe like that. And now I have it here, but here it only shows this part. Resize crop allows it to kind of like normalize to the actual segment you picked. So let's say I'm gonna go and select even more, then I would have two icons here. These properties are actually can be also animated in the film editor. Then UV shift allows you to kind of like animate or like change the shift of the UV coordinates. So UV shift, and rotate allows you to also rotate. It doesn't work really well with cropping, but it does works well with a full picture because it saves its center. And let me like raise it a little bit higher to demonstrate the feature. And then finally there is the shading. So at the moment, as you can see, if I like turn around, the shading gets applied to me. In order to stop that from doing, you can disable shading, and now it's always of the same shade. With extruded form, it's basically like billboard, but it's a little bit less capable. You can select any of these. Wow. For some reason, it's linear. Let me try going back and icons. Linear. And then going back to the billboard. And now they're fine. As you can see, it makes actually the pictures 3D. Kind of like if it was voxels. There is also the same shading and the same billboard and color. And there is no cropping because it's way more difficult to make so that certain parts of the models were actually extruded. But yes, it's a cool thing. It's very satisfying to look at. Wow. Then we have a label form. It's basically text. You can attach it, for example, text to some model. For example, let's say I'd like to add here, I don't know, like on this one. Oh, I can even do that. I can add here a label and say like sword goes here. At the moment it's rotated in the wrong direction, but I can change it by rotating and moving probably this way. Let's press F7 in order to actually see where it is. Like this. Then specifically, I'd like this text to be I would like this text to be like in like one word per row. So I can do that with specifying the max length. So I think, yeah, there we go. And label anchor lines as well. Let's scale it down. And I can also specify a shadow offset. So shadow is like additional line of text, which I can also offset over here. And probably let's make it like dark gray. And there is also a feature to add it a background. So maybe like 8/8, like half of the transparency. And you can also change like how much of the shadow there goes. So yeah, now I can have a cool label that is what goes here. This was for the label. Next, we have a block form. Block form, it actually uses a block. It's the same thing that is basically like in the, you know, there's a sand falling entity. You can specify, I think, a block, but it has an editor where you can like change certain properties, but there is no easy picker for example, if you have like a door, let's say which door, like spruce door, you actually need to go and add another door. Let's see, spruce door, and you need to give it a top part. See lower, upper. Yeah, now I have a full door. Beside that, let me just take this full. Not every block works. For example, with this block form, it doesn't render like water or lava. Basically, any fluids would not work due to the way this renderer works. Armor stand? No, armor stand is not. Then you have shulker, probably. No, shulker works. Certain blocks don't work because they are as block entities. For example, if I left, right, it's not gonna work. Like, it requires actually the Minecraft terrain editor, like renderer has to do the work for it to work properly. So, but you can change the color here at the very least. It's a pretty interesting which feature and how it looks like. So yeah, that's about the block. Then there's also item. You can specify item in such editor. There's no way to pick that himself, but if you have an item like the one you want, for example, I don't know, like this, or enchanted book, let's say projectile protection 4, you'd like it to appear as a form, you can go edit and right click and paste from hotbar enchanted book, and it will be specified here. You can also like pick any items from the list. You can give it a name and the stack, but I don't think stack amount changes how it looks like in the world. You can probably have like trident. Let's see if it's trident doesn't. Oh, it works. It kind of works. Some items, I think, like shield, don't exactly particularly work well because maybe they look better in the world. In the world, it looks better, but overall, not all of them work correctly for some reason. Probably most likely because of the color feature. You can also have here like different kind of transformations, which sometimes could give you a better idea of how or where the like anchor point is. Scale and skull. I think also, yeah, some kind of heads, I think like player heads would not display here correctly. In order to actually circumvent this thing, I used to use a Minecraft zombie. Where it was? Minecraft zombie. Yeah, I think zombie, this guy. And then I'm gonna just give him a head item, and then I'm gonna use it as a form, stuff like that. It was really horrible, so I don't recommend it. Then we have mob forms. What a what a good segue into next thing. So mob forms, they're just using Minecraft mobs, or like the one that are even added by mods. It sometimes crashes with certain mobs, but here you can edit it, and you can like use any, I think, mob as long as it works as you'd like it to. Over here could be a NBT data. Why could it be useful? It's for example, let's say you have a villager. Let's try to spawn some villagers. Let's say you have a baby villager. I pressed B and I looked specifically at baby villager. Let's say it could be a baby zombie, it could be a villager of profession, stuff like that. So you click on create a form of a mob you're currently looking at, and then it would actually like copy this data. And yeah, you can, and you see it actually also pasted in the NBT data from that mob. If you have like certain mobs from mods, you can also try using this feature to get some custom mobs that were spawned from like, I don't know, some Digimons or Pokemons and stuff like that. It could work out, but it's not guaranteed. Like, it depends on how the mod itself handles its entities. And finally, vanilla particles, it's better to preview actually them with a model block. Let's see, vanilla particles. What it does is basically allows you to see how particles, I wouldn't call it see specifically, but there is like some configurations of this form. So you can like change count is how many of them and how frequent it is. You probably use like different kind of like, I don't know, large smoke. And sometimes you can also affect them by rotating the what's called I guess the transformation. It affects sometimes. Some particles, like for example, I think block, require an ID, and then it's gonna work. Besides that, there's like velocity for certain. Whoa, what's that? It looks interesting. So for certain particles, it works different the way velocity is specified. You can also add here offset, which allows you to like create blocky area around the center point in both directions. So this is basically the radius instead of the diameter. So say 1, 1, and 1. I'm gonna reset the transformation. I'm gonna, I guess, reset the what's called, reset the velocity to its original, and then set it to hearts. And then you would see that there's a lot of hearts spawning. Depending like if I said like even more, you would see that these particles spawn a lot, way more, like in a bigger radius, or rather box. And now it's in a smaller box. You can't control any of the parameters like velocity, like physics of particles. They are really depend on the particle itself. So that means that there are certain particles like water-based, like bubbles, I think, that don't really work outside of their specific environment, like the water. So yeah, it's a very constrained form, but it's better than nothing, I guess. If you'd like, there is always a particle editor where you can create your own custom, basically your own custom particle effects, which are hard to make, but there is way more freedom with that. And particle form itself doesn't really have much of their own properties. It just has one that allows you to change it to the texture, basically. So that's it about forms. Now there are a couple of features related to forms. Is that the first one is you can, like, for example, take a form and it's related to hotkeys. The first one is hotkey. For example, I can press, I don't know, wait, maybe like J. I'm gonna demorph, and if I press J, I'm actually gonna change to this one. This is not really good for, I mean, for roleplays. It's good if you like need instant change. However, if you need the animation stuff, it's actually better to use animation state editor. Animation state editor is a mechanism that allows you to have animated like states that you can trigger either by hotkey or they would always work. Let's start with the main feature. It's literally called main. Let's say we have a car and we would like it to continuously, I guess, rotate. You can change it to main and let's say add transform here. And let's say every second it's supposed to do 360 degrees spin. So let's see how it looks like. Yeah, like that. And then shift duration here. And now if I go outside, it's actually spin. If you have multiple animation states that are marked as main, let's say this is negative 360. I can actually take this model. Wow, that's so huge. I'm gonna make it, I can't make it smaller. Make it smaller here. I'm gonna make it smaller here. And probably also make it smaller here. If I place, actually, not all of them, like you see some of them are rotated in one direction and others in another direction. So let me remove these. This was probably not a good idea to use this model. So yeah, this is main, so it's used like as an animation by default. Then let's create a new, let's say it's gonna be an emote like, I guess, waving. Let's call it wave. I'm gonna attach a key to it, H, and let's first animate. So like this, like that, like this, like this, like this, and like that. Then I'm gonna also create a new keyframe. So let's see. I guess more. I'm not sure whether that's gonna look correct. I don't remember how. Okay, let's just pretend it's a good waving animation. And now I'm gonna exit to the world. Whenever I press, which one? There we go. It works whenever I press. Other players would see it as well. Now, this is how you trigger it. How, let's say we have multiple animation, like let's create a new one. In the new one, I would say, let's make it something interesting. For example, I'm gonna attach a label saying hello world. Let's say by default it's hidden, and I'm going to animate in what's called hello with J key and 0 transform. And I'm gonna, let's maybe move it a bit more. Oh no. It was that, so let's see. Let's copy this transform and paste here, but change it to 0. And then it's gonna fade out. Oops. Maybe like this. And I get set shift duration. Now I'm going to J and H. I can add a a little bit of fade in and fade out. It's necessary for transitioning. And let's see. I can now execute these separately. It might be even better to set it as billboard. You see now, whenever I press and then I attack again, it's actually smoothly transitions instead of like instantly. For example, if I'm gonna go back and here, hello, and remove any fade in, fade out, this is how it's gonna look like. You see, it's like, okay, it's not really visible, but it instantly happens. But there it's actually smooths out. So again, we add some fade in, fade out. And finally, the looping option. Let's make it some kind of a dance. Then the dance. Let's something go like this. So dance like that, and then let's say that the dance part is actually from here to here. Let's change that. So this is just the intro, and then it's actually gonna repeat here. So it says tick 6, so I'm gonna set the looping offset here and enable it. So now, and also need to select a key. Let's say it's U or Y. No, Y is already used. So maybe O. No, I think O is also used, so P. Dance. My bad. So the first problem was that here you see it's different. So I need to create a new one here and then change it like this, because it's not actually looped correctly in the animation itself. So this is fine. So now it works correctly. And if I press the key again, so I can walk stuff like that, probably it's worth in the animation itself here in the dance to take the left arm and the right arm and then fix it. And then if I go back here, I can actually dance this away and walk as well. But if I press again, it's gonna actually like transition out of the animation state. But with these guys, it's actually not gonna do that, I think. Or maybe it's just that this specific, let's see, what was that? Wave, oh, it just doesn't have any fade in, fade out. Now it works correctly. So with animation states, this way you can actually, let's say, pick this one and states and make this one main. You can actually create lots of these model blocks, or even better. They're all gonna look at me and dance. So yeah, this should cover all of the features related to forms. Now that I covered a lot of forms, like all of the forms, I'm gonna also cover all of the clips. So in the beginning, you have the idle clip, which is basically just a static clip that just takes the camera and places it in a single place. Then let's go and add a new one. I usually use Alt and A in order to quickly add clips instead of going through like right click, add, and then current ticker, something like that. So I'm gonna add a dolly. And what it does is basically it's kind of like an idle clip, but it just moves forward. You can set the like this distance. This direction is by basically just making it negative and flipping the position. You can change the interpolation, for example. Probably more distance would be possible. but it's just more glorified, I guess, idle clip. It could have been actually one clip. Then we have path clip. It's a clip that can have multiple points. Let's try this, and then like this, and then like this, and then let's make it times 3, I guess, longer. So you get basically multiple points, and then it goes through these points. You can set a different interpolation to these, but yeah, Hermite is probably the most smoothest of them all. And then you have keyframe. Keyframe it's it's a clip that a lot of people who use professionally, or at least in advanced manner, if you need like a very, very cool camera movement that you like need like precisely to do stuff, then you can use that. Let's see. Here I can like change the interpolations. I guess what's called. I can change all the aspects separately on different tracks. If you need more basically control, you can exit and edit these things and see how it actually looks like there. I've seen people who actually, instead of using different clips, they would go something like this. They would like set up a path. Instead of setting up a path and idle and stuff like that, they would just use one big keyframe clip. For example, then let's say it's just gonna be static camera points, and instead they're just gonna select all of these and then constant, and then it'll be just like that. If they need like a path here, I'm gonna create 2 points or something like that, I guess, and then just set the interpolations here. So specifically here, Hermite doesn't work well because there's already different thing, but I can duplicate over here and then move it really closely. This way, Hermite interpolation won't get in the way. I don't really like this kind of workflow, but for some people it works. Now, all of these begin to be more of a filters to, or a utility like these to like current subtitle. So let's see how. Let's create a new idle and add here. Translate allows you to like add a translation to the clips beneath it. Let's say you have multiple clips, like let's disable this one, and you just want them to be 1 block higher. You just put it here 1 block higher. As you can see, like it just adds the position. You can also change it to like to meet absolute, so it basically replaces instead of adds. So here, let's say if I'm gonna disable it, it's always gonna be at this Y level. Even if there's like horizontal, or rather movement on the Y-axis, you see it still forces the Y to be the specific. So yeah, this is basically the translate. You can, like, the cool thing with all of these different clips is that they have something called envelope. And let me show you like how it works in action. So let's say I want here to do a little bit of adjustment, that it goes up and down a little bit. I'm gonna enable envelope, and then it's like animates and changes. I think maybe 2. See, now it transitioned 2 blocks up, and then it's gonna fade out. You can change the interpolation with which they transition in and out. And if you'd like to change the fade in factor, or how much like it, oh, that's a wrong one here. Q and E. If you'd like to change the keyframe, you can either change this field, or there's a comma and period key is in order to move the fade in, fade out factors to the cursor. For example, I can change here and like that, or like that and that. So this is comma, and this is period. And beside that, you can also use keyframes and edit keyframes and actually change the envelope factor to whatever you'd like to using keyframes, instead of rely on the simple fade in, fade out structure. So now, as you can see now, it applies more custom, and you can change the curve in the way you'd like to. And now let's go back to the overview in clips. We have angle clip, which is basically translate, but also affects just the angles. So if you'd like to add 20 degrees to all of the clips here on FOV, I just do that. And then if I look just to force 20 FOV, then I also do here this way. If I need to set a roll to all of these, it's actually gonna add a roll here, or a force roll this way. And if you need add a little bit of hue and pitch to all of these, then you do it just like that. Then we have shake, drag. So let me demonstrate. Drag is probably best way to demonstrate on some of these that are actually moving. Let me copy this one here, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and add Ctrl Shift Alt A, I think, or something like that. Drag. So here I'm gonna select which aspects of the camera I'd like to make smoother. And probably first I'm going to disable. I'm going to convert it to keyframe for some reasons that I'll show a bit later. So now let's see. So keyframes look this way. It's copied from the path. And now let's see how it looks like. It goes and it stops. So the way it works is basically you have clips underneath, and it's gonna smooth out the movement. So let's change, I think, the higher. So the other way around. The smaller the number is, the more smoothing there is. So let's see how it looks like. You see it even cuts the corners because it's so much smoother. Just compare it to without smoothness. You see there's some periods of delayed orientation, but if I'm gonna enable it, there's less delay. So if I probably change it to even smaller number, it's gonna be more smooth. The difference between deterministic mode and the regular one, you have to, for the deterministic, it's always on point, but you have to specify the frame rate. So it's probably not gonna look very well with held frames and motion blur that comes with BBS mode. However, it's very costly. Yeah, that's basically the only downside. If you have multiple drag clips, I don't recommend doing multiple drag clips with deterministic stacked upon each other. So instead, you can disable it, and now it is non-deterministic. However, you see if I'm gonna scroll, it actually takes some time to catch up. So for this reason, it has to be resets and or used with deterministic. But it's still really cool feature and option as well. Then we have shake. Let me add shake here. What shake does is basically uses sine and cosine in order to create shaking. As you can see now, I'm going to change to 80 and change something like that. You would see that the camera is shaking like this. The smaller the number, the faster are shakes. And you can specify on which axis you would see the shake. you can add multiple layers of shakes. For example, let's say I'm gonna remove all of these, so only here's yaw and pitch, and here is only roll, and I can like change it here as well. And basically you can like create a lot of dynamic shots with it. So again, shake is how frequent. The smaller, the more frequent it is, and the bigger the number, the less frequent shake it becomes. And shake amount is far away the factor of how much. For example, you can't use the same shake with 15 on XYZ fields, for example. Let me create a new shake here. And I'm gonna use it on Y. I'm gonna make it like decent, and I'm gonna just add a little bit. As you can see, if I would make it too much, it will be too it will be too much. So I'm gonna make it a small amount. Wow, that sounds like that's like some kind of a rap video. Like he's rapping or something. I don't know. But yeah, this is shake. Now that's what we have. We have math. Ooh. Math is one of those clips that I didn't really use much. You can use like a expression in order to change it. For example, if you'd like to make value, for example, it's wide by default. Let's say I'm gonna make here my go up one block. This way I can actually go and just prohibit any movement. I can go value and I can clump it between, let's say, negative, I don't know, 58 to negative 58.5. And then, or maybe 9. As you can see, it's basically cut off certain amount. If I go here, there's a button to see more information about, but there's also graphing calculator. If I'm going to, oh, here. So the way it basically did, it clamped the x between negative 59 and 58.5. So basically it wouldn't go any smaller in a negative direction, and it wouldn't go beyond negative 58.5 in this direction. With this also you can use random to create like a way more random. So we'll shake, it's predictable wave formed shake, and with random it's completely random. So let's say -1, and it's not even noticeable. So this way I guess I can create more of an earthquake based shake. But overall its use is really limited, but it's there if you'd like to use it. Next we have look. So what it does, let me copy this one again. Look, I can specify a target. For example, I can take my character and pick a course, pick an offset, and then throughout the entire camera it's gonna just focus my character. If you'd like to pick a block, you can here go and rotate it and then get center of a block, and then I'm gonna look at block and it's gonna take and use this block instead of the replay. There's also look forward, which is actually uses the forward facing vector, but doesn't really work well if there is no movement. So just I guess resets. Yeah, and then there is a relative, and what it does is basically if you have a keyframe clip underneath it or something like that, you can relatively affect the movement. So I think, I don't remember how it works, honestly. Not really useful answer. And then we have orbit. It allows you to pick a target. Then like I guess move the offset, use distance 0.5, and then change basically an angle. If I'm gonna reset these guys and copy entity, it's actually going to, let me try record here. It would copy actually the head movement. So this way, if I'm gonna, you can create kind of like a third person camera view. But the coolest thing about it is actually, if I'm going to create a keyframe clip, set it underneath it, and then let's say here, I'm gonna change Z, and here I'm also gonna change Y and pitch. So this way I can animate of like angle, yaw, pitch, and distance. Distance is the Z track. There's also absolute feature, or option rather, that lets me let me remove all of these and set up something like that, and then I can absolutely like edit. So for example, instead of it being affecting like the coordinate change, it's actually gonna take whatever keyframe clip has passed from beneath. So yeah, something like this. I think I need to disable copy, and then it's gonna look way better, I guess. So that's orbit, and with orbit, beside that, there's I'm gonna skip. There's a tracker. Tracker, it's like orbit on steroids. Yes, you can set my course and then head. Then I'm gonna change the offset. And then I think it should be here like that. It's actually gonna use whatever body part there is. So I think if I'm try and rotate, probably goes around. Ooh. Nah. So like this, it's actually attached to the body part. And if I'm going here and then animate, as you can see, it's actually attached to the body part itself. So this is a good from a like body cam, I guess camera movement. It's good for GoPro like and stuff like that. Look at actually allows you to specify, for example, let's say there is an idle clip, and let's reset the roll. Let's walk a little bit and add the tracker. Then pick my horse, head, and then look at, it's actually going to look at where the head is. So if I'm going to take here and change the pose, let's say rotate it like this, it's actually going to target wherever the attachment is configured, which is really amazing. And I guess relative, it does the same thing as with keyframe underneath, actually affects the changes to the offset and stuff like that. Well, except for look at it probably doesn't work there. Then we have remapper. Remapper, it's an interesting one. What it does is basically with keyframes, like we have here a path. It moves kind of like linearly, but let's say we want to have it in such a way that it's actually gonna move exponentially throughout the entire thing. So I'm gonna set one keyframe here as 0 and one keyframe as 1, and then I'm gonna specify it this way, and then it actually goes through this entire path with exponential. If I would like it this way, with exponential out, it's actually gonna do it this way. I can actually flip here, so 0, and then 1, and then here 0. So here, now I can do it the other way around. I can change. So basically, it's a remapper of time. It changes the way clips time works. So here you can even go and like play it as a DJ or something like that. So it would go back and forth. Something like that. Go back and forth. I created it initially in order to kind of like add an ability for a more for creating a camera with emphasis, so that you could like have a dolly camera going forward, and then in certain moments it would go faster or slower or slow down in order to emphasize certain emotions of the character. But it turned out too much effort to do actually for a very like voice line, and wasn't worth the effort as an effect. But it's there just in case, I guess. And we covered almost all. Add audio it's really simple. You pick an audio, like bonk fart, and that's basically it. It just plays audio. Subtitle allows you, there's a lot of actually options, but it just what it does. You use title. You add a label, you like disable text, shadow, you change size, offset and stuff like that. And there's actually, where is the shadow? Shadow here. So it just adds text, and the options themselves are pretty self-explanatory, and they work similar to label form. However, there's one feature, and it's transform. So basically, you can enable the subtitle clip to fade in, fade out. It actually uses opacity, but what transform does, it basically you can, I guess, create some kind of transition. So let's say -24, and if I'm gonna change these interpolations for fade in and fade out, then it also affects, so I could zoom like that, or maybe even Control S. So yeah, to transform it basically is the initial state of the label that will be transformed into its natural state, I guess. And then we can also make it opaque in order to create it more like a outline, I guess, style. You can, I think, shadow. If you have text shadow, it's also gonna affect it. Basically just draws around the visible pixels an opaque border. So that's it with subtitle. Let's first check out the dolly zoom. Dolly zoom, here. Dolly zoom is a feature, useful feature, probably for to actually use what's called path with it. So what you can do, you set the focus distance, and then to actually keep the camera's position in such a way so that the object of the focus stays of the same size. I'm not really sure how much distance there is, maybe 3. I think 3. Yeah, it looks like 3. As you can see now, if I have maybe actually 3. No. What if 2.5? No, 2.5 actually not good. Maybe 8. So the point is to find such value that the character or the object of focus would be of the same size whenever you change the FOV. Here I change the FOV, and whenever I change the FOV, okay, I think maybe 2.9. Changing FOV, actually, the object doesn't become smaller or bigger. It just becomes of a different perspective. And it actually depends on the initial, and then I can make it look something like this. So yeah, you have to first initially set up, then adjust the focus distance, and then if the focus distance isn't the same as you'd like it to be, then you have to readjust the dualism and then change the FOV in the end. So this is how dualism works. And final clip, it's curve clip. What it does, it without shaders, it has a couple of parameters that you can control. So you can change like day and night cycles this way. But when you have shaders enabled, you have way more options. If you go edit keyframes, you can add a curve, and there's so many options you can choose from. These are called shader keyframes. If you have a shader that doesn't work because of shader keyframes, you can disable it here and then reload shader. But overall, let's try. There's post processing. I don't know which I can, maybe saturation. Saturation is a good one to show. Let's say we have a saturation parameter and we actually can play around with it and animate. So you can see now it became from black and white into super like extremely saturated colors. And as with any keyframes, I can make it go really crazy. If you know how to play around with shader options, it actually can really change the way your picture looks like. And sadly, there is no really uniform way for depth of field to work with this way. So yeah, that's the only downside to it. So yeah, it just basically changes options for shaders and sun rotation, and we also had the weather, which changes basically. Let me add. I can basically change to rain and no rain at my will, basically. And brightness, it just affects the moody, or I think it's not really visible with shaders. Let me try. It changes a bit. See, it changes the brightness settings over here. Where was that? Brightness, this one. So yeah, those are all clips in BBS mod. Final feature that I'd like to show you is BBS gun. So BBS gun is an item that is located in BBS most category, and it's kind of like model block. It's basically an item that has custom form, but it's a little bit more than that. You can actually shoot with BBS gun projectiles. So in order to edit BBS gun and its properties related to projectiles, you go to the item editor, which is home key by default. It's the same key that you use to edit a model block, like with the item. And there are extra categories for BBS gun. So let's take a look at, beside actually like changing stuff, I'm gonna take a look at specific options to BBS gun, because these were already covered. So here we have a shooting, like gun firing options. Here we have exactly specific options related to how the shooting mechanism work. The main thing here is the launch mode of BBS gun. Instead of shooting a projectile, it allows you to actually shoot yourself forward. So this way you can kind of like, I guess, create a movement that looks like flying. If you negate the value, it's actually gonna push you up where you look like. There's a difference between the regular mode and the additive launch mode. Additive is actually adds instead of replacing. So if I'm going to click it as many times as I can, it's gonna just make me faster and faster and faster. However, with the additive disabled, it's just gonna replace. You see, I don't accelerate more than I was. Now, beside launch mode, there's a amount of projectiles I can pick, for example 5, and the horizontal and vertical scatter. So this affects basically how many degrees in both directions. So it's kind of like a radius situation instead of diameter. That affects the projectiles. So if I go and right click, you see that there will be multiple projectiles. It's probably best to change to something else like this. See, there's like not a big radius change. But if I'm gonna go and say 360, well, it doesn't seem like it works correctly. It's horizontal, right? 180 maybe? Damn. Looks like vertical is confused with... Yeah, looks like I made a mistake. Vertical is not horizontal. So you can see, yeah, you can like change here. For example, this is, I guess, vertical and 45 degrees. What's called? Horizontal scatter. This is for the firing options. The projectile options is specifically how, like, the initial state, I guess, of the projectile. So here I can pick a form. For example, let's make it a block. And I'm going to bring it a little bit down. And I can also like change the transformation itself. That looks okay. It's not visible here, but it's a thing gonna make blocks get smaller. Use target is used specifically for if you're using some particle-based forms. It's needed here to be enabled. But for everything else, use target is unnecessary. Lifespan is how many ticks the projectile will live. So 100 ticks is 5 seconds. So basically divide by 20, 1 second equals 20 ticks. And so if I'd like them to live much less time, then I would just reduce the number. Or if I'd like them to live longer, I can make it even a bigger number. Then we have speed, is like the initial acceleration. Example 2 is gonna make them go fast. And if I'm going to divide by 4, they're gonna accelerate fast. Gonna fly way slower. Friction depends. The friction determines how is basically kind of like an air friction. So if the number is under 1, then the projectile will slow down. For example, if I'm gonna set 0.5, that's just gonna look like this because the factor is very, very strong here. But if I'll make it something more than 1, so let's say than 1, then it's gonna actually start accelerating with probably, let me show you with 1.1. You see how they start accelerating. So this is how friction works. And the gravity effect, basically vertical. Basically, it's just an additional acceleration that's gonna get added. So if I'll make it negative and put it back to 99, then the projectiles will actually fly up. That's a pretty cool effect though. And then if you down, down. But if you set it to 0, that means that then the projectiles would just fly forward without like being affected by the gravity. Yaw annotation allows you to set whether the the projectiles will. I don't know why I'm saying particles, but these are projectiles. You see, they're not affected by like which direction I shoot. They always be rotated in the same way. For example, if I just set to yaw, then they, no matter like what the vertical acceleration is, it's just gonna affect the yaw. For example, if I'm going back to this, you see they still look at their direction they're going, but they are not affected by the vertical rotation. And now they are. And then scale fading is basically whenever you shoot, whether they spawn immediately or whether they fade in, fade out. For example, if I'm gonna put 5 and 5, it's not really visible from this point, but if I'm going to go and like record a character with the gun, let's try. You would see that they actually, well, probably it's it should be a bit more than that. So 20 fade in and 20 fade out with 0 gravity. Probably should make it longer, way longer. And you see if he shoots, they fade in, like they basically scale up, and once they're gonna be dying, like you see they scale down. That's what the fade in, fade out does. Then impact options. So these are options related to what happens to the particle after it hits an entity or terrain. So impact form, you can go here and, for example, pick. And once it hits, well, probably should change it a little bit back. So back to gravity, and friction is fine, speed is fine, maybe 1. So if I'm gonna enable bounces and disable vanish, then you see after hitting it changes the form. With bounces, so bounces, how many times can it bounce? Like once it hits the floor, I guess. How many times does it bounce until it stops bouncing, or if it vanishes? So basically, if you have multiple bounces and vanish off, then it's gonna bounce and then just get stuck. But if you enable vanish, then after multiple bounces, they just die. And more, and yes. And if there are no bounces and vanish, they're gonna get expired once they hit the target, or if no vanish, they're just gonna get stuck. Damage affects how much damage is done. So let's see, there's a villager. As you can see, it actually affects, it kills. Projectiles can kill. And knockback affects the whether targets get a knockback. Oh boy, this is quite powerful. Should probably make it way less. And I guess iron golems cannot get a, a knockback. Let's see if yeah, no knockback. He just faced through the wall. Yeah. So this is fun to play around. If you disable blocks and entities, basically determines whether it affects somehow. For example, let's see. Yeah, because collision of entities is disable, it's not gonna work. But if I have blocks disabled but no entities, then I can shoot through the wall. This is it for impact. Then zoom options. Basically zoom it's there's a feature. Let me just grab this one and zoom this one. Wow. Oh, third person? No, first person. First person. Copy, zoom, paste. Let's say it's gonna be bigger because we're zooming in. And then we have FOV target. So basically, zoom. There's a button here in controls keybinds called zoom. It's a button for. I can hold it and press, and then it would zoom in. You can change how many ticks. No, you can change how many ticks does it take to arrive to this target zoom, and you can change also the interpolation. For example, Control Q and to 20 or something like that. And then as you can see, it shows the form they picked for zoom. Probably closer. Yeah, probably another something like maybe Q and like quadratic and out would look better. Yeah, but the change is instant. You can also execute some command on zoom and command once the zoom is off. So once it's finished. Let me try this. Give myself a chroma black. And what is chroma? I think chroma white. Yeah. So on zoom, I'll get chroma black, and so yeah, this works something like this. If you want to disable the commands, I think you have to specify specific game rule. I think it was command block output false. No, send false. And now, so yeah, if you don't want to see the stuff in the chat, that's how you disable it. So these are commands, and there's also additional commands for the other kind of states. So here I have on tick, for example, if you don't want to use particle form, but you still want particles, for example, I don't know, particle, what the hell is that? Ash 0.0, 0.1, 0.1, 1, 10. There's some ash. And then I'm gonna put here. So the tick on tick is basically you can set so that you see whenever, like every 5 ticks, or I can set even 2. Probably I should disable back. You would have here particles through command, and that means not only you can have their particle command, it could be anything. One thing just don't do is probably add a like explosion, because if you add explosion here, I think they would go really wild. It's like I don't really want to try now. But with explosion on impact, I can actually do something. Wait, I don't remember how it's done. Let's see. BBS boom. The radius is 4 false. So yeah, this way I can create some kind of like explosive. Yeah. Oh. Ah. There you go. Oh. Because they don't expire, this is what happened. Damn, they're gonna explode for a while. So yeah, you can set there, and on def, I think on def it's also a fun one. Basically, I think you need to change it a little bit like this. So nice span here, and then no friction. Wait. Oh. You see, they will explode once they get expired, instead of actually hitting the terrain. But I think you can have both commands there. And when fired, it's like I could give. Oh. So every time I fire now, I will get a diamond. So yeah, BBS guns are fun and you can do a lot of things there. My bad. So yeah, BBS gun. I really hope this tutorial was really useful, and there are some parts that will be confusing, but I feel like after rewatching a couple of times it could be understandable. If you have any questions, please ask on the Discord server. Thank you. So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it. But please ask questions on the Discord server. Bye.